good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be in the world. And welcome to today's conversation with myself, Sara Jane, with my co-host, Enolia. Enolia, hello.
Hello.
And with our guest, Supriya Prasad. Supriya, thank you for agreeing to join us for the program today.
Thank you so much. It's good to be here.
Yes, we're so happy to have you.
The topic of this conversation, because when we call it today's conversation, that's exactly what we mean, a conversation. Empaths and highly sensitive people navigating around an entrepreneurship world. And I think this is something that is very close to an awful lot of people's hearts these days. You know, the gifts that we bring, it is how do we bring ourselves and work within the world, the business world that exists today. You know, and a lot of people, I think, who do the therapies, etc., it's, once I've learned them, everybody will be queuing at my door. And it doesn't work that way. We do have to have the courage to promote ourselves. But it is also about having the courage to be true to how we feel. Now, I know I'm very strong on that as far as I'm concerned. I have, for want of a better word, ethics around things I will and will not do, things that feel right and the things that don't feel right. And so I think the conversation, if I am not much mistaken today, is going to be around those topics. Now, I would like to start with the topic of money. Because, and I know exactly how I feel about money, and it's not a negative thing. But I think a lot of people who are the empath, the HSP, standing for highly sensitive person, can be a little bit concerned about, is it okay to earn money? And especially if you've been brought up in certain religions where it's money is the root of all evil, which doesn't help a lot of us. So, I don't know who wants to start. I know I have got my thoughts and I will share them, but I've said enough. So shall we, Supriya, so you get a sense of us. Let's go to Enolia first, and then when Enolia's finished, we'll come to you before I open my mouth again.
So I want to say hello to everybody, and Supriya, we're so excited to have you on here. And I think that we should back up just a little bit and make sure that everybody understands what an empath is. And I'd like to pose the first question to Supriya. Share with us being empathic, and what that means to you.
Empathic. Okay, so yeah, like empaths are, you know, I saw like a statistic that we empaths and HSPs, they make up like maybe 10% of this world, and that statistic it fluctuates like wherever you look at, but they're just highly sensitive. Like they take in energy. Anybody that's in the room with them, if they feel angry, if they feel sad, if they feel like distressed, if they feel super happy, even an empath can take on that emotion with them. And the problem it is a problem because like a lot of people who face a lot of HSPs are more prone to things like depression, anxiety, and all of that stuff, because sometimes they don't know that the distress and all that stuff that they're facing is maybe somebody else's at the end of the day. So we've just experienced a lot of things at 100. And of course, it doesn't have to be like anxiety and all that stuff. It can be things that are super happy and positive, things that are positive. I remember when I was like 5 years old, whenever like somebody like in my preschool class was just super happy, I like was like extremely happy. I was like more happy than that kid, like for anything. So, and you know, that was, but like, if you went to my teachers, they would say like similar things, like this girl, like she's always withdrawn and all this stuff, and all the, like, she doesn't speak up. I'm like, well, that's because like, and of course I didn't know at the time, but I always thought if I spoke up, I would have gotten, you know, yelled at, because you yelled at that kid for speaking up. And I knew how that kid felt after he spoke up, because I felt that. So that's why I never, that's the stuff that I didn't understand until like I got into my teenage years and looked up what empaths are and HSPs.
Beautiful, beautiful. And so for me, I would say that I'm not a natural empath. I've had empathic, what's the best word? It's not tendencies, moments. I've had empathic moments. And I'll tell you why, because I always thought, oh, well, you know, I can sense what other people are feeling, but it's a whole nother level taking it on. And I remember being in Abadania, Brazil, and I meditated for 4 hours, took like a half-hour rest, and another 4 hours. And I had meditated all day, and my heart was wide open. And then being in Abadania in the first place was really just like heart opening. And then I remember coming in front of somebody, and I could tell that they were angry. And then all of a sudden it was like it hit me. And I could feel it. I could feel the anger. And I was like, oh my goodness, if this is what it feels like, no, I don't want this. I don't want this feeling. It's too much. It's too much. So, you know, I have a lot of compassion for empaths who are feeling like that all the time. I do not feel like that all the time. But the moments that I had it, it was unbelievable, and it was, for me, a little bit overwhelming. So what about you, Sara Jane?
I'd say I'm a little bit more like you, but I spent so many years being a people pleaser. And when I was going to learn, I was umming and ahhing as to whether to learn a technique called metamorphic technique. And with metamorphic technique, you have to be totally detached. There is no way you can get involved in that session, in that person's life. The less you know about them, the better. You know, if they preferably don't talk throughout the session, it would be good. You can't, if they go, oh, I'd love to find somebody who does shiatsu. You can't tell them, oh, I know somebody, I can give you the information. You can't tell them. You can't tell them anything. Talk about religion and politics, but you can't talk about anything that potentially might help them on their journey. They have to sort it out for themselves. And one individual turned around to me, I must have said something to them and said, oh, well, you'll never be able to do that because you will never be able to be detached. And I can be very detached.
Mm-hmm.
Super. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes it's very difficult. And so I've obviously managed to create the ability to let go of things so that other people can let go of them. That's the way I look at it. If I stay out of it, the other person has got that ability to be able to let it go. Whereas if I'm holding on to that energy for them, that it makes it harder for them to let it go. So that's the way I work within my practice. I may get to hear lots of stories, and I make suggestions to people, not when I'm working with metamorphic technique, but I don't hold on to that. I don't let myself remember it. I remember some of the stories, but not who they relate to. But as for what I suggest to them, because I don't give advice to anybody, I let it go. What they do with my suggestions is totally up to them. So I'm very lucky in that respect of having an element of protection. But
So,
I have to create that.
yeah. So I listened to everybody's version of an empath, and I'm going to go back to Supriya and say, so how is this going to relate to entrepreneurship? Because I can't even imagine having my heart so open and then dealing with business and having people coming in and out of my life that are every walk of feeling, some anger, some egotistical, some a little bit of everything. I'm all ears, Supriya.
Yeah, so being an empath and an entrepreneur, it's like, you know, you have to learn. It's like kind of like a trial by fire like sort of thing where you're kind of navigating, especially when you're first starting in your entrepreneurship journey. So I was told a bunch of things on how to do sales and how to market yourself, which I feel is very masculine oriented. It's just very masculine oriented. It's like, go and like call up 25 people this week and you should close maybe 5 to 6, within that, or some other thing. And it's just like, I wasn't, and the thing is that when I started, I was doing that. I was getting like a lot of people on calls and doing all sorts of discovery calls. But the thing is that, there's this thing called energy hygiene. And I wasn't clearing each energy, the energies out with all the amount of calls that I had during the week. And because I wasn't clear that, I was taking on all that energy of everybody that I was talking to on the call. Sometimes I would even meet the people in person too. I wasn't doing any of that. I wasn't clearing my energy. I wasn't protecting myself, so to say. And I was taking on all these energies of the people that I was messaging, I was contacting, I was getting on calls with, and so on and so forth. And because of that, I felt very drained. I was taking on their thoughts as well, because I mean, going back to like the money issue and everything, like I was taking on what I believe was the money mindset issues and all this stuff like lack. And I was operating from that place. And I did not know that I was doing that. I did not know that this was like a thing that I was doing. So as an empath, I really had to find the strategies that worked for me, that and of course there's such a thing as human design and going off the human, using the strategies, that's a human design and all of that. And that works for some people too, but what worked for me was just feeling what I was drawn to. I was not, as an empath, I was not drawn to cold pitching, to cold calling, to all this stuff that I was told to do by like 7-figure, 10-figure earners, 8-figure earners in my field, that they were like, I became successful doing this, you can do this too. But it doesn't work for people like us.
I so agree. I so agree, especially as an entrepreneur myself now. And then, I'm going to go back to my corporate days, which is like, you know what? Just because I'm in the patriarchal world, primarily, right? I'm supposed to put on the man suit, go head to head with the man, act like the man, be like the man, get it done like the man, and lose my complete femininity in the process. And I hated it. it was not me. It's not who I am. It's not who a lot of women are. And what's even sadder is that many of us will turn around and impose that same framework on those coming up behind us because we were subjected to it. So not only do we take a look at the framework, be disgusted with the framework, don't like the framework, instead of trying to figure out how to take that framework apart and create something new, we would recreate it over and over and over again for those coming up behind us, making it even tougher. And it's sad. It's sad.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't work. It doesn't cultivate. It doesn't nurture. It doesn't do anything except create very hard and cold people sometimes. I won't generalize all the time, but a great deal. Sara Jane, what's been your experience?
I was me. That was just it. I became an area manager for a retail lighting company. And I treated people like family. I got to know every single one of the staff in all the stores, even if they only did 4 hours a week. That was how I worked. I got to know my staff,
Mm-hmm.
male and female. And there were times I had conversations with them, especially the younger ones who weren't doing many hours. It was just like, oh, so what do you really want to do? What everybody's got to earn a living. They do jobs for a while and then they move on. And it was just like, so I bucked the trend and ended up by getting made redundant too. But the company did actually fold 2 years after they made me redundant. So, and I'd done, in spite of everything, doing everything my own way. Actually, I ended up with stores who did really well under my area managership. You know, they said, "Oh, don't put that person in charge of that shop just because they're there." I said, "I'm not." When I made my choices, they worked. When I made choices for what I felt, oh, I better do it that way, it didn't work. So maybe it's just I'm sensitive in another way. I just get the sense of what's right and what it doesn't feel right, because we are all unique in our own way. And then because I was overqualified as an area manager, but it was for concession units. So getting another job was impossible. I was overqualified to be a manager in the store and underqualified to be an area manager for full high street retail outlets because they were concession units. But I loved that job. I loved the people I worked with. And it worked. That was the joy of it, because I didn't go into the masculine. Oh, don't get me wrong. I caught those that was the stealing. I was very, very good at my job. And I've been very good at a lot of the jobs I've done. But it wasn't me. And as for working in insurance, which is where I ended up, and that's the cold calls, the hard sell, the what, oh, absolutely not me. Not me at all. So becoming self-employed, I'm going to do it my way, or I'm not doing it at all. So I followed my heart, the energies that feel right to me. I may not be making a small fortune, but I'm not money motivated.
So I would love to ask Supriya to share with us the framework that was created for entrepreneurs being empaths.
The framework. So like what I have done in the past, like besides, protecting myself. And of course I have like crystals and all that. I have black tourmaline, black obsidian, black onyx to protect myself against any negative energy. Whenever I would do calls, and things like that, there's like a lot that I do. Like I'm more in tune now than I have in the past. So if I feel like, even through like the form somebody fills out on my website, if they are not a good match, I just send them an email. I want to protect my energy as much as I can before they get on a call, because I don't want to waste the time. I don't want to waste their time either. If somebody's not a good fit, or if the energy is off in any way, I say no. Saying no is like the best thing that an empath can do. Like, say no, and to protect your energy, because if you, and I of course I'm a former people pleaser as well. I was at many 9-to-5s where it was very hard for me to say no to something. And if I said no, if I said no to something, that was a risk for being fired. I quit anyways. I quit most of them. I got laid off of one, but I quit most of my 9-to-5s. And it was because I said no a lot. I said no. I didn't say no a lot, but in my last 9-to-5, I did say no quite a bit. And they were expecting me in a place where they were expecting me to say yes. And instead, looking back, I probably would have told them, like, you don't pay me enough to handle, like, calls, to handle, like, all this stuff that, wasn't in the job description that, that I signed on to. It was not what I signed up for. So I probably should have said no to begin with, but it was just people pleaser in me. So now that I'm self-employed, I can just say no to whoever I want. It's like so empowering, to say no to whoever you want. Yeah, you have clients. Yeah, I have people at the end of the day, but making your own rules, making your own place, like that is so empowering as an empath too, because you get to control the energy and who is coming into your energy. And, when I worked at an agency, I could not control who was going to be calling up my line, blowing up at me the next day, because such and such program wasn't set up right, So it's so empowering. It's very empowering to say no. I think no is the strongest word I think an empath can use.
You need to turn your mic on, Enolia.
Sorry. And I shared, thank you. And I shared the statement framework because, having worked in corporate most of my career and then exiting and then creating my own employment and being self-employed, the beauty of that is that I set up the framework that I like to go by and guide by. And I really, really do encourage this. And I want to highlight this because it's really, really important in the respect that we come up through the status quo. And the best example I can use it, let's take a chef. A chef comes up through the ranks. They are belittled. They're made to feel very small. You're nothing but an assistant. Cut up this food for me. The leader is typically very arrogant. There's a hierarchy and there's a pecking order. How can anyone thrive, truly thrive from their heart in that kind of environment? You can't. You cannot. It is not set up for you to thrive. It is set up for you to be in fear. It's set up for you to be afraid for how can you advance, afraid for if you're going to lose your job, afraid to push back, to say the hours are ridiculous, I actually have a life. All those things. And so as an entrepreneur, I'm saying to people, create your own framework. If you love being a chef and all you want to do is be a chef, but don't turn around and duplicate that which makes you miserable. Create a scenario where you work like family, where you're encouraging each other, where you take the time to show your sous chef, your assistant, how you want things prepared without being nasty, arrogant, and disdaining, or ranting and raving and out of your ego. And then you could possibly still get the best, even better out of them because they want to be there. They would work long hours because they want to be there. And, it would be particularly nice if people can acknowledge that there's life after work, So as an entrepreneur myself, creating my framework of how I choose to work versus how the status quo is set up work is really, really important. And I emphasize that for those who are self-employed, it doesn't have to be how it's always been. Sara Jane?
No, it really doesn't. Setting up Gift of Healing TV, I have done it my way. And my way is nothing like everybody else's way. And it is very important to me that I don't have to follow everybody else's way of doing things. And if people don't like it, they haven't got to have anything to do with it.
Exactly.
It's that simple. But I am not going to start doing what everybody else does because actually it feels totally wrong to me. If it feels right to you, do it. And if it doesn't, don't. I have actually heard that there are other people now who are starting to do things the way I do them. And that is wonderful. It'll take time. But do you know what? If I manage to be somebody who starts it, great. It is how it should be. And it is about valuing yourself. And I am going to come back to this money thing because, yes, within the empath, the people, so one of the things when I learned Reiki was that an awful lot of people who learn Reiki really, really struggle to charge. Because at the end of the day, the Reiki energy is free. It's free for everybody. But my time and how much it has cost me to learn what I have learned, to experience what I have experienced, and all the things that I have gone through to be able to do what I do today has not been free. And therefore, my time is what is valuable. And it is okay to charge for your time, for your expertise. And money isn't evil. Money isn't good, it isn't bad. It is what you do with it. It is what other people do with it. So allow yourself to value you and your time, your gifts and your expertise. And that isn't easy for us. It really isn't. And I think a lot of us struggle with that. But you know how good you are at what you do. Value that. Help people to value you. But what actually is the really important bit in that is when they value what you bring, your time, and they pay you what you're worth, they are valuing themselves in the process. Everything or nearly everything people get for free, they don't value. And that is why I've chosen to work the way I work. go with what feels right and value yourself. There you go. I chuck that one back at you.
Well, and, I'd love to go back to Supriya and ask, how she views money as an entrepreneur and as an empath. And are there any thoughts as money as energy?
Ooh, that's a very, very good topic to speak on, because as spiritual entrepreneurs, and I think Sara Jane just touched on it, we view energy, energy is free. A lot of people like to view it like that. And it's not something you should give away for money. And the thing is that in my mind, and of course in my business too, I have had so many issues around money mindset and around valuing my work and valuing what I do and valuing what I bring to the table. And I do feel it's more women than men that find themselves valuable and to value for what they are worth. And I feel like that's more of how our society's structured and all that stuff. I mean, we could go on and on into that whole conversation, but I feel like, mostly as women, when we are given things, like we are given these gifts and we are given things, and we're natural nurturers, we're natural nurturers. So when we give things, when we heal, like all this stuff, we don't feel like we should put a price on it. So often the price is not, we don't really put a price on it. Sometimes we don't put a price on it. Sometimes we give stuff away for free. And I know with me and with my work, I do give discovery calls, but there's also a lot of people in my field, especially a lot of my friends, they do not do free discovery calls. They do like $300 discovery calls, in order to get on a call with them. So, there's a lot of things that go in my mind with that. There's people in my field that the bottom line is $1,000 per month, bottom line, and I had to think like, oh my gosh, everybody's pricing themselves way more than what I think. So I think it's a delicate balance when it's a delicate balance, because I want to make sure that people are getting what they are receiving from me, but what are they also paying? Are they really paying $1,000 per platform? And I'm talking about social media platforms and all that stuff. Are they really paying $1,000 per platform per month as a bare minimum? Or are they paying for something else entirely that person also brings to the table? So there is a lot that goes into that. And as an empath, I always want to give more. I always want to give all the stuff more and more and more, because as an empath, I'm generous, and I'm I want to give people more than what they give in the past. So it's just I'm just gosh, I want to be able to, I want them to leave with feeling there's so much value in this, and so much value in what I'm bringing to the table. So so charging what you're worth, but also putting a pulse, I feel, on what people are paying for. That was a delicate balance I had to learn.
It's really important to do that too. And then also making sure that you're doing what you love. And I'm really, really, really big on this, okay? Because the bottom line is this: if you are doing what you really love to do, and you're doing what your heart calls out to do, then it's not work. And then the other piece of this is that a lot of people will focus on the money. And I say, don't focus on the money. If you focus on doing what you love and you do what you love extremely well, then money becomes the byproduct of what you do well. And it comes abundantly. So if you are I don't know, if you are a fisherman and all you ever want to do is fish, then foot the bill, buy the boat, and fish and teach people how to fish and have expeditions fishing and do everything fishing. And you look up and you're doing what you love. It's not work. And the byproduct is I'm getting paid for doing what I love. And there are more and more and more and more entrepreneurs out there because, frankly, we're sick of the structures and the paradigms are falling apart. People don't like working 9 to 5s. They're trying to figure out how to be able to work in different stages. And then having gone through the pandemic, even pushed them even more to discover that they don't like working 9 to 5, that they want to be able to move and have the freedom to work the hours that they want as an entrepreneur. And this new discovery is taking the shape of many lives. And so, don't fall into the trap of establishing the framework like every status quo. This is what you have to do. First comes the business plan, then comes the this, then comes the that, and blah, 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 blah. It's what you make of it. First of all, if you're doing what you love, then putting boundaries as to how much of it you're going to do is easy. And then pursuing what you love, easy. And then getting paid for what you love. If I'm sitting there in the middle of Brazil doing a women's retreat on the beach and I'm getting paid for this, heck yeah, I'll work anytime you ask me to work. I'm doing what I love, and I'm helping others get better and being the best version of themselves and doing what they love too. So if I could give any recommendation and thoughts or share something with other entrepreneurs out there about business, and hopefully you got tips on being an empath, do what you love. Enjoy what you do and be the best at it that you can. Sara Jane?
Well, I would say value yourself, your time. It is really, really important to do that. The majority of us didn't start 5 minutes ago. We have been growing in what we do for years. And the more we have experienced, the more energy, the more we can bring. I know it's grown within me. I learned Reiki. I love Reiki. Then I was introduced to the toning, the sound. And wow, I love it. And then after a number of years, I realized that actually I was here to bring the two together and create vocal Reiki. And not does it just work on a physical level, on musculoskeletal, it works with deep cellular memory level. The energy of what I bring is all channeled. That I've had to grow to work with that, and I've worked with it on myself. I mean, what I have done to help me, I can do to help others. Gift of Healing TV is all part of it. I can help so many. But how many more people can be helped if I can help others to get out there? And I have this ability to be able to interview. I can do it. It's not easy sometimes, but I can do it. So I've stepped into the energies of the gifts I feel I've been given. Now, there are going to be those of you out there, and it's, but I don't know what I'm here to do yet. Be aware of your journey. Be aware of the experiences you have had in your life. And if you are, I don't like using this word because I don't think anybody can heal anybody but themselves. But if you are feeling that you should be working with energy and with supporting others to heal, then it's my healing journey that has spoken to me and has helped me to grow and know what I'm here for. Listen to what has gone on in your own life, the growth areas in your own life. And as you have grown and healed with some of them, they will be the areas that are most likely to be your path, your continuing journey. And I would love to get your sense of what I have just said, because that is how I feel about it. And I may not be the same words, but it's how I've heard other people talk about it. And it makes so much sense to me. So, Supriya, your journey, how did you get to do what you're doing?
My journey, oh my gosh, like I didn't even think, okay, like 4 years ago that I would be an entrepreneur at all. I had, well, let's say 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I was dipping my toes into entrepreneurship. I just like I was at a banquet with my dad and his friends and my dad, and I just casually mentioned, I was like, hey, I kind of want to try my hand at freelancing. And my dad told me, and he was consulting himself at the time. So I was like, so he just told me to create some business cards at this event, just pass them around. And, I did that. I created business cards on my printer with some cardstock. It's the funniest story. Because I didn't think anything would come out of it. But I mean, I actually got some people interested, and I was just like, oh my God, like I don't know what to do with this. They're like, I don't know what to do with this. So, but that's how it kind of got started for me. And I really did not even think I would even be starting my own business 4 years ago. And it just kind of happened. I kind of got fed up with corporate life at like this international company I was working at. And I got fed up with it. And I was just saying enough is enough. So I kind of started my own business. I wanted to make my own rules. Now, the spiritual part, though, I mean, of course, I've been spiritual all my life. My mom was a Reiki healer. All of this stuff happened in my life. I didn't tell this to anybody, though. I didn't really tell this. I didn't even tell this to my friends, like who were pretty close to me. I didn't really tell this to my friends who that I was into all of this stuff. And it was kind of a part of my life that was, I guess, hidden from everybody. And I was like, you know what? I do want to get into spirituality and helping people and like marketing and doing all this marketing for spiritual entrepreneurs, because I'm like, I think that there's somebody that needs it. Like there's not one person that I know of, and not one marketer that is actually speaking to them right now. And the most common response I got from people that I talked to on discovery calls and whatnot was, oh my God, you actually get me. It's like, you have no idea. I hired a VA, a virtual assistant, last year, and she had no idea like what I was about. And she's like, you actually get me. So that's how I knew that like I had something here. So and then incorporated all of that, all of what I knew, did this healing ball meditation for my coaching clients, because I incorporated coaching because of COVID last year. I did this healing ball meditation, which I've been doing that since I was 14 years old, in different ways, in different forms, in different ways. And I started doing this for my clients, and they received it. They received the energy. And like, I think that my client got 3,000 subscribers from those alone, on YouTube. So like, it was one of those things where I was just like, geez, like this is something else. And and that's why I renamed. I was known as SPP Productions before, and now I'm the Spirit Digital. And I wanted to incorporate the spiritual world and the digital world that I knew so well. And like, that's how it all happened. And me as an empath, me being psychic and empath and all of that stuff has well incorporated into what I do. And Enolia, to your point, like, I do wake up every day, like, really like happy, really happy, and more happy than I have in the past year, because I am doing what I love. I'm waking up. Oh my God. I'm waking up at well, today I woke up at 6:15 because I had to go to the gym early, but almost every day I wake up at 7:15. And that was not a thing before. I used to wake up at 5 a.m. every day because I needed to go to the gym. I needed to come back. I needed to go shower. I needed to, it was just go from 5 a.m. onwards. And now I take my time. I actually take my time, meditate every morning, meditate with my crystals, meditate every morning, and work on my chakras, work on everything that I need to work on to that day, and just take my time and get ready to go and go to the gym and, you know, either get like on some clients and then work on some client work and then go to the gym, and vice versa. And then just take my day as soon as I get back, I take a shower, I take whatever calls I need to take, and you know, it's just so easy going for me. It's not as stressful anymore. And I think that's what I love.
And Enolia, your journey to where you are.
So it's just as similar as Supriya's, because, you know, I worked for a Fortune 500 company for a number of years, and it was like, it was time to go. And I dare embark on what I love. And I knew that I coached women well. I know that my shamanistic practice was full-fledged in my foundation of what I stood on. And I didn't even hesitate. I mean, you know, I was in California, and I remember starting out, and I called 12 of my friends, and I was like, can you host women empowerment circles for me, you know, and just let me come out and let me speak. And, you know, would you do that as my friend? And that was in 12 different states, 12 different friends. And that year it ended up being 22 different states and 14 countries for the year to dare to do what I embark. When you love what you do, the passion is seen. When you love what you do, the energy is felt, and people are drawn to you. And you're drawn to do the work at the best of your degree, because the spiritual practice, the connection, everything, all of it counts. All of it. And people can see that you're showing up authentically and genuinely. And when you show up authentically and genuinely in your truth, because it's your truth, it doesn't have to be anybody else's but yours, you know, they know that you're coming from a pure place and that there are no facades. And when there are no facades, people are drawn to you, and it's cyclical, you know? And so you cannot show up with a facade. People see through it immediately. It doesn't work. So if you're doing it because you just think you can make money at it, if you're doing it because you just think that that's what people want, get a grip. Let it go. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. And if it does, well, guess what? you will be miserable in the end. You'll get what you want, but you'll be miserable in the end, and no one will know who you really are. And at a certain point, your being won't be able to take it anymore, because you'll be longing for people to know who you are and what you want and what your truth really is. And you want to peel off the facade yourself. So, to me, I love the journey. I'm still on it. Here I am in Africa, I'm still living the dream, and I'm grateful for every person, because when you're coming from an authentic place, also, people want to help you. People want to see you grow and to see you succeed. And this is how we lift each other up. This is how we grow together, because we want to see each other successful. And we want more people to propagate their truth. That makes us all happy. And that contribution overall is just good for the world.
Live from your passion.
Yes.
Whatever your passion may be. And you can have a passion for helping and supporting others in so many different ways. And that is what all three of us are about. It's our passion.
Passion.
And people can see that. Yeah, this is what I love about the videos. This is why I started doing this as videos, because for me it was really, really important for people to be able to watch the videos and see and if they are passionate about what they are talking about, the people watching will know it. If they aren't, they will know it. And so it's having if you are passionate about it. And when I started gift healing TV, somebody said to me, oh no, you've got to have a website in place, you've got to have this in place, you've got to have that in place, you've got to have the other in place. And it was just like, I have the means to be able to do this, like create the programs, record the programs. I have my website, I can create a page on it for now until I can sort an actual website. I have got people I can invite, and I have got people I can share it with. I'm starting now, and the rest will sort itself out. And it has. We can make things happen. And there are so many of these inspirational things that said, if you wait for everything to be perfect, you'll never start. And the person that was going to be doing it with me was the person who telling me I had to have everything in place first. It was just like, nah, can't be doing that. I'm doing it my way. So, absolutely. Have either of you, we're coming close to the end, because we like to keep these to about an hour if we can. So, Supriya, have you got anything else that you would like to share, for people to sort of to get a sense of it's okay to be, I suppose, who you are. Trust the process. Whatever it is that, feel the energy for yourself.
Yeah, everybody has intuition. Everybody has it. It's just that some people are just more in tune to it than others. You really, and you explained it too, Sara Jane. Like you said it. You have to trust the process. Like, oh my gosh, I was such a control freak. Before. And you know what? Leaving things to the universe is also one of the best things you can do. Because you can only do so much. You can only control so much. You can only do things. You can't control the entire process. And when you do, it won't work out in your favor. So trust your intuition, trust the process. And when you do both, you'll find that those things work out for you.
Yeah. Thank you. Enolia?
I would say trust yourself in addition. Do what your passion is. Dare to stand in your truth and don't let people project onto you what they perceive you doing, because you will never fulfill what someone else wants you to do. You can only fulfill and feel satisfied with what you want to do for yourself. And if you don't have one, dream a beautiful dream and hold the vision for yourself so that life becomes that walk to that vision. And then you will find that you will enjoy life so much more. And Sara Jane?
Remember, there is no right way, there is no wrong way. There is your way. And that is the right way.
This is so beautiful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And just as a little last note, Supriya, if anyone wanted to get in contact with you, do you have a website or anything that you could share?
Yes, absolutely. You could go to thespiritdigital.com, and all of my social media is Supriya, SUPRIYA .digital, DIGITAL.
Okay. And all of that will absolutely be in the notes of when we have the video come out to everyone. So don't worry if you missed it. We will make sure that it is attached, and this will come out immediately tomorrow. So thank you, thank you, thank you, Supriya, for being a part of our program, today's conversation. We're so grateful to have you. Thank you, Sara Jane, as always, for just being our rock. And I'm Enolia, and we're really excited because the next today's conversation, which will be July 9th on Friday, and that is at 5:30 BST, 12:30 EST, and 9:30 AM PST.
Okay,
we are going to have...
To that.
Excuse me?
You've added a 30 to that. I thought it was at 5.
Oh, okay. We can do...
What have you told Anna?
I told her 5:30.
Right, I need to change it then. Thank you.
Okay. We are going to have Anna Marinho joining us, and I'm excited to have her. She is a beautiful, beautiful physical therapist and healer, and her topic's going to be self-healing, ignite our inner healing abilities. So please join us. And you know what? We haven't set that time out forward yet. So let's make that 5 o'clock BST, 12 o'clock EST, 9 a.m. PST. That's Pacific Standard Time. And thank you for that catch. I appreciate it. And that's, again, July 9th. Okay?
Thank you, folks.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Take care. Be safe. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
And thank you, Supriya.
Thank you, Supriya. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure.
Absolutely.
Bye.
See you soon.
Our pleasure.
Bye.
Bye.